So hi all, my name is Joni and I'm going to introduce two tutorials which I've made in this course. And the first tutorial was creating a simple 2D UFO game, and the idea of the game is to collect golden nuggets as much as possible with the UFO character. So basically the player will control a UFO with the keyboard which is moving around the game board and picks up and counts collected golden nuggets, as you can see. And the current count will be displayed in the corner of the game, and when all nuggets has been collected, game will end as displaying the win text. So let's get started what I've learned in this tutorial. So the first one, how to control a player. So first we make a rigid body 2 in here, which is interacting with a 2D physics engine. And then we got a player controller which is attached as a script component to our player game object. And here we added force using a rigid body 2D component. And as we can see, the script is over here. And over here exactly. And here we can see the vector 2, x and y values will determine the direction of the force which have been added to our UFO. So here's the thing. And then we also set the gravity scale property from our player to 0, which means that no gravity will be applied, and it's over here. So that's why it can stay on the game board in the game. So next one was adding collisions. So how the game identify collisions is that there has been used collider components to game object to represent his walls. And actually there is 2D collider components in Unity which defines 2D shape, which is the 2D physics engine will use to calculate collisions. And over here we have set 4 colliders over here, as we can see. And the engine detects collisions between 2 or more colliders in the scheme, and they have been set to the playfield as walls, so our player won't leave the game over here. So next one was create the following player system, and to follow the player we have set a main camera as a script of the player game object over here. Over here. And here's the thing. So there 2D collider. There has been set two variables, offset and subtract the transfer position of the player to find the difference between the two. And this late update means that as we move our player with the controls on the keyboard, that each frame before displaying what the camera can see, the camera is moved to a new position aligned with the player object, just if it were a child of that object, except that it will not be spinning around the game board as the parent object spins. So the next thing was creating collectible objects. These ones. So it is created almost same way as a player object, except that a rigid body T's body over here has been changed to kinematic, so we don't need to worry about gravity, and also inserted a circle collider so we can pick the nugget in the game. This one. And here's the kinematic thing. And how exactly the picking works, there's a function in a player controller script, this one. So this will be called by Unity when our player game object first touches 2D trigger collider, and that means we deactivate objects to hide those when touching those objects. So as we can see here is set active in false when we see tag pickup. Yes. And the final one was to create counting points and displaying score. And here's the function what we have been used on this. So here's the text, count text. And if the count is greater than 8, so we will display win text also. So in here we there is the texts, and they have been set to a player controller over here. So second tutorial was creating a simple 3D rolling ball game. Let's have a look at that. Yeah, the idea of the game is to collect cubes as much as possible with ball character, and basically the player will control a ball with a keyboard. If we check it, yeah, which is moving around the game board and picks up and counts collected cubes. So that's actually the same logic as the previous tutorial, but it's just in the 3D style, like that. So the mechanics, what I learned in this tutorial was how to control a player, how to add collisions, how to follow a player with the camera, how to create objects, how to pick up those objects with character, and then how to display counting points in 3D mode and win text in game, and finally how to build the game in the computer. So if we check this controlling player thing over here, so how the movement of the character has been done. So here's the same script, yeah, same file, player controller as the previous tutorial. So it's actually almost the same than the previous, but except we have to notice that because this is a 3D game, we have to use also that we have to determine C value in the direction of was of also. Yeah, and then how to add collisions. So how game identify collisions is that there has been used collider components. So here's our walls, and here's we have used box colliders to each one. Yeah, and this is actually working the same way as the previous tutorial. And then how to follow the player. There's the camera controller also, and this is exactly the same function as we have used in 2D game. So there has been set two variables, offset and subtract the transfer position of the layer to find the difference between the two. And the late update means that as we move our player with the controls on the keyboard, that each frame before displaying what the camera can see, the camera is moved to new position align with the player object, just as if it were a child of that object, except that it will not be spinning around the game board as the parent object spins. So here's the logic of the camera. And then the collectible objects, so pickups. So here's also used colliders in here and a rigid body. But the difference between 2D and 3D is that we have set the rigid body is kinematic mode in here. So it's kind of means same as in 2D, but the view in here is a bit different. So, and here is also the function on trigger enter. Let's check it out. Yeah, this one. So this will be called by Unity when our player game object first touches trigger collider, and that means we deactivate objects to hide those when touching those objects. And then the final thing, how to count points and displaying the score, and it's just like in 2D. We have set the function over here, and here's our texts which have been added to our player controller over here. And yeah, actually we just created new UI text objects to display the win text, as we can see in here. So I've never tested Unity environment before, so the reason I picked up these two tutorials was to see is there any big differences between 2D and 3D when doing games with same logic. And there isn't. Only features of objects were a bit different because of displaying the game from different view. And also you have to notice C vector to place objects in the game board in 3D environment. And summarizing the learned things, I learned many principles of working with game objects, components, prefabs, physics and scripting in 2 and 3D side, and how simple Unity is to use, and how to build games to computer. Thank you.